So I've put just about 550 kilometers in the Adidas Boston 13. And in this video, I'm going to talk about my thoughts and opinions on the shoe. And yeah, break it all down in the most casual way that I possibly can. Also, I know that this room is like extremely kind of tight. It's been a few months since I've like set up in here to film, so that's why everything is very tight, and there's boxes and a treadmill right there. And I'm also feeling kind of sick, so my voice doesn't sound the best. But yeah, this was the video that I wanted to make this week. I feel like it's a video that I've wanted to make for a while, actually. So yeah, I'm going to get into it as best I possibly can here. So I'll say right off the bat, I've put about 550 kilometers in this shoe. And overall, it's probably one of the best shoes that I've ever run in. I haven't watched any reviews of anybody else talking about the shoe. I remember watching a few reviews on the Boston 12s. Maybe I guess it would have been like a year and a half ago, and people were really liking those. But my wife got these for me back in June, back on Father's Day of this year, so June 2025, and I started running in them then. I trained for my my summer half, or I guess my fall half marathon. I trained throughout the summer for my my fall half marathon, and they were amazing. Like genuinely, these are one of the best shoes that I've ever run in. And I don't know what other people are saying on them, but for me and for my foot type, which is just like a mid-foot striker, it's basically been like a flawless shoe. So yeah, I mean, the shoe is marketed as like a daily trainer that I guess you can kind of lean to workouts in. But I will say that from my experience, let me just hold it so you can kind of see it. From my experience with this shoe, it has been one of the very few shoes where I feel like I can do anything from an easy run all the way up to like a fast 5K race and feel super comfortable. Like near the end of my training block, I was running in an old pair of Vaporfly 2s, not these ones. I have an older pair, and I would do some of the workouts in them, and I would honestly say that these felt faster than my older Vaporfly 2s, and that's not me just saying that. Like, I mean, sure, those Vaporfly 2s were definitely old. I think they had over 500 kilometers in them as well, but these shoes genuinely felt better. I feel like I was able to hold a faster pace comfortably for a lot longer. So yeah, I was really surprised at how well these held up at fast paces. Also, at just easy paces, they felt totally fine. Again, I think easy paces might be a little bit easier, I guess, if that makes sense. Like you're not necessarily going to notice, for me anyway, at an easy pace, I'm not going to notice a shoe as much as I do at a fast pace. Like when you're going, you know, a kind of race pace is really when you want to feel a shoe kind of kicking into action. And yeah, I feel like this shoe just absolutely did that. At easy paces, it felt great as well, but when I was going fast, that to me is when this shoe absolutely excelled as being one of the best shoes that I've ever trained in for probably forever, to be honest. Yeah, I feel like it's so cliche to say that it just works, but sometimes I think you have to just go on emotion with things. Like, I'm not going to go and break down the specs of the shoe and say why this works, why this doesn't work, but for me, just the emotional feeling that I have towards the shoe is just simply that it just works, and it feels really, really good and really comfortable to run in, as I was doing almost every single day throughout the summer. I guess that will get me into the kind of mileage and durability. I already talked about having run about 550 kilometers in them. I think exactly it's like 547 kilometers in them. The durability has been basically amazing. Like, I really believe that these could go 500 kilometers more, like no question. Like, yeah, there's a bit of wearing out, but the rubber that's on the bottom, which is super light, is still almost completely intact. Like, I haven't actually worn through the rubber to the foam yet after 550 kilometers, which I gotta say, this might be the first shoe I've ever seen that on. I've never actually seen that on another shoe. So yeah, that speaks well of the Continental rubber on the bottom for sure. They easily are going to go 500 more kilometers. And I'm now in the winter here in Toronto. It's definitely icy, but yeah, I'll be running on the treadmill with them for sure throughout the next few months into my next training block. But yeah, I guess I'll get into a little bit of the ride and feel of the shoe and try to describe it a little bit more. It's just a shoe that fits really, really comfortably to me. I feel like I have like a very, I don't know, maybe it's a standard foot. I have a 10.5 foot, and I feel like my forefoot is very wide, and then I kind of like narrow out as I come into the heel. And I feel like this shoe, just in the way that it's kind of made, fits really nice. Like the forefoot is a little bit wider than kind of the midfoot area, and a lot of shoes just kind of have either too wide or too narrow throughout the entire thing. So this shoe just kind of fits my foot really nice. That will then get me into one thing I always see people talking about with Adidas shoes, and that's the laces. I like it. A lot of people always say that they don't like these cheap feeling laces. Well, to kind of be the devil's advocate with that, I'd say they're really light, which is nice, and there's just not too much of it. I had no problem doing a runner's knot and then double knotting. And yeah, there wouldn't be much lace left over in the end, but that's kind of what you want. You don't want, sorry, my nose is incredibly stuffed here, but yeah, that's kind of what you want. I feel like you don't want there to be a lot of lace left over. You want to just get it down, get it tight, and then just have no lace bouncing around. At least for me, that's why it worked super well. And yeah, like I said, this was a shoe that I could go on an easy run, but then also just convert that easy run into a workout, and sometimes even like a 5K pace workout, and feel like just 100% confident and great. If I was doing an easier run in the shoe, I might not runner's knot it, but then if I was doing like a workout, I would do the runner's knot, and right away it would just lock that heel down so well. And yeah, like I was doing everything in this shoe. I was doing long runs, easy runs, workouts. It pretty much became my all-arounder shoe. I mean, maybe for recovery runs, I didn't use it too much, because that would be one place I'd say like it's not a negative because it's not being advertised as that. But yeah, maybe as like a recovery run shoe or like a walking shoe, maybe not the best because it's like really firm and it like really rocks you forward, and sometimes you don't always want that. But that would be, it's not a negative. It's like the shoe is not advertised to do that, so you can't really say that it's not doing that well. It's not that it's doing it bad. It's just, yeah, maybe wasn't the best for stuff like that. So I'd have other shoes for more my recovery runs, but this basically did everything for that training block, especially any meaningful run, or maybe a pair of Vaporflies that I had. But this one honestly started taking over as one of my main like workout shoes, even when I was trying to hit, actual race pace and stuff like that. Yeah, I guess then I could get into, again, this is not a negative, but I'm trying to be like as, not, I'm trying to cover every possible ground that I can here. Right now in Toronto, it is cold, icy, and snowy. Yeah, maybe it's not the absolute best when it's like icy, slippery conditions. Again, it's not advertised as that though, so you can't really question that. I haven't actually run in this shoe right now in the ice or snow, so I can't particularly say if it is good or bad for that. The Continental rubber is pretty good though, but yeah, I don't know how it would feel running on ice. Again, not really advertised as that. I think that's one thing about being a runner in Canada. It's kind of something that not everybody's going to experience. Like, you get these pretty harsh winters with a lot of ice. And yeah, like not a lot of, basic daily trainers are going to do amazing in those conditions. But that's fine because most aren't advertised to do that. And then yeah, I kind of have my last little bit on my last little chunk of notes here is what it's not great for, but I already covered that. Yeah, it's not the best walking or recovery running shoe, but not advertised as that, so you can't really fault it at that. I'm just looking at it overall as a shoe. Like, if you were to get one shoe that you wanted to do 90% of your training in and then race in, this would 100% be my number one recommendation for a shoe. This and like maybe the Saucony Speed series would be like the two that I'd say you can just do everything in it and you're gonna have a great time. The advantage that this shoe has though is that in Canada this is $180. There is almost no shoe that's under $200 in Canada. I'll put the other conversions for the other currencies on the screen as well, but the price of this shoe being $180 Canadian is like insane. That puts it on another level for how good this shoe is. If I were to give it a 10, that would put it at an 11, because the shoe that I also like equally probably was, I really like the Hoka Mach 5 and I really like the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3. Like, those two would be my greatest of all times before this, which now certainly is potentially the best or equal to those three. But probably, honestly, this is probably my favorite of all time. If there was one thing that was going to take it to the next level, it would absolutely be the price of this shoe. The Speed series, which is great, they're about $220 in Canada. These are $40 less for a shoe that, in my experience, is actually a little bit more durable and maybe a little bit better to run in. So pretty, at least in my opinion, it's a pretty genuinely amazing shoe. I would argue that for me, this has probably been the greatest shoe I've ever run in. Beforehand, like I said, it was probably like the Hoka Mach 5 or the maybe the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3 I really liked a lot as well, but this would certainly now potentially be my favorite. I think it's hard to say one particularly is your favorite, but yeah, this would definitely be that. Let me just check through my notes here. I think I pretty much covered everything. Try to structure it the best that I can, but I never end up doing that. With all that being said, though, stuff's falling in this closet now because this is just a closet that I'm in. But with all that being said, if you guys enjoyed this video, if it helped, please feel free to like and subscribe. That would be awesome. But yeah, my final verdict on the Boston 13 is that it's an incredible shoe. Absolutely get this shoe if you want to have like the most versatile shoe at an incredibly affordable price. And yeah, that's it. If you guys enjoyed, thank you for watching.